Amazing, beautiful. I think we all have a basic idea of who a public speaker is and what a public speaker does. The key thing here is that a public speaker actually sort of inspires people. And you can inspire people into two things. You can inspire people into action or inspire them into a change of mind, change of mindset, change of perception, change of opinion. And when we are discussing public speaking, there are two things that we need to know. Public speaking has two different sides to it. Two very separate sides to it. The first side is the capacity side. I actually have a whiteboard here, but I don't know if I'll be using it. I just want you guys to follow what I'm saying. We have two sides to public speaking. The first is the capacity side. The second side is the branding side. And when you hear the word capacity, of course, you would know what capacity means in the general sense of what capacity would mean. However, in public speaking, capacity has a lot of things under it. So I don't know if I write it, you guys will see. So we have, oh, my thing is falling off. Another capacity, we have, I think, about 6 things under capacity. So the first thing under capacity is knowledge. The first thing under capacity is knowledge. If I ask the persons on this group now, on this call rather, how many of you have read books relating to public speaking? Not that many persons will be able to confidently answer. Can we take a poll? How many persons have read books or read a book? Let me say one. Let me reduce the standard. Let me say if you've read one book that pertains to public speaking, can I see your hands up? Anybody? I'm looking at the list and I'm not seeing anybody's hands up. Okay, exactly. So the first thing that a public speaker must do is that a public speaker must be knowledgeable. You cannot avoid it. They come together. Okay, Victoria, I'm going to lay his hands up. Amazing. The first thing a public speaker must do is that a public speaker must be knowledgeable. You see, what makes you unique is that you're able to tell something that your audience does not know. VT once said that an amazing public speaker is someone who can say something that the audience has not heard before. The first thing is knowledge. And how do you gain knowledge? You gain knowledge through reading of books. You gain knowledge through watching videos, studying people. And this is the mistake people make when it comes to knowledge. People think knowledge is activity-based, but rather knowledge is intention-based. And what that means is that it is not as to the quantity of books you have read or the quantity of videos that you have watched, but rather it's a question as to how are you utilizing each piece of information that you have learnt. It is sufficient that you read one book, and from that one book you're able to learn 100 lessons. Why some people read 100 books just to learn one lesson? So the first thing is knowledge. Knowledge it's not quantity based, but rather quality based. It is not based off the activity, but rather off the intention. You have to be intentional about learning. So the first thing everybody on this call is actually to say, okay, I'm going to do this if I want to be an amazing public speaker, is that I'm going to actually start looking into learning about public speaking, right? Learning what makes up a good public speaker. You learn. That's the first thing you need to do. It's not activity based, but rather it's intention based. So after this call now, the best option I can give to you is that you pick one book or one speaker and you say, okay, I am going to learn from this speaker. I'm going to learn from this book, right? I'll tell you guys something very interesting that happened last year. Last year I was training a group of young people from, I think Kwara State University or Uni Ilorin, I really can't remember. One of the two. And throughout last year, we read just one book. Just one book. The name of the book is The Art of Public Speaking by Dale Carnegie. For those who have me on Instagram, they will have heard me talk about this particular book about 2 or 3 times. The Art of Public Speaking by Dale Carnegie. What we did over the course of that entire 2025 was that we picked one chapter or 2 chapters And every Saturday, we discussed that particular chapter. You see, what I discovered from that particular exercise was that the persons that were there had more knowledge from that one book than from the multitudes of books they have read before. So the first thing is knowledge. Knowledge is not activity-based, but is intention-based. You have to be intentional. Okay, I'm going to learn public speaking, and this is how I want to do it, and this is how I'm going to practicalize the things that I have learned. That's the first thing, knowledge. The second thing is diction. Hope you're following. So we're talking about capacity as an aspect of public speaking. There are two aspects, capacity and branding. Another capacity, we have knowledge. That's one. Two is that we have diction. We have diction. Under diction, we have things like your volume, your pace, your cadence, your melody. Those are things that form diction. It is possible that you're knowledgeable, but people won't like to listen to you because when you speak, it doesn't sound interesting. There's no melody to it. It's not sweet. Right? I don't know if there's any guy on this call because I've only seen females. Is there any guy on this call? I'm not seeing anybody's hand. Jesus. So there's no guy on this call. I feel this is bias. This is bias. This is unfair. And we have to address this with the management. If there's actually no guy on this call, oh my God, there's actually no guy on this call. We have to address this with management. Oh, wow. Okay, amazing. That's crazy. That's very, very crazy. Okay, we can use women for this experiment then. Hands up. Don't lie, because I know all of you want to do Christian sisters. Don't lie. If a guy has ever approached you and told you, oh my God, I like your voice sounds so sweet, you know, I just really like how you speak, I like how you talk. Hands up if a guy has ever told you that before. Don't lie, you. I suspect Victoria, I suspect Favor. I saw someone's name now, I suspect that person. If a guy has ever walked up to you and told you like, or maybe it's the boy you're even dating self, for those of you that have mind and are doing a relationship. If you've ever, gotten that comment before, oh, I like the way you speak, you sound so nice. Nobody has said that before. Haba, you people are lying. We won't go far on this call, you people are lying. You can't start with lies. So nobody has said that before. That's crazy. Okay. So let me be the first to tell you people. All of you sound very nice. For those of you that have spoken, you sound extremely very nice. And your voice sounds good. Well, that is what diction basically is. Okay, so we have Adeola. Adeola, a guy I told you before. Okay, I think that's why she's raising up her hand. So that is exactly what diction is. So what makes up diction? Diction is basically how you speak. That melody, that sweetness that comes from you actually speaking and talking. That's diction. So under diction we have tone. I'm going to be taking them one by one. The first thing is tone. Have you ever heard someone speak and they speak in one single tone from beginning to end? Let me give you an example. Something like this. Public speaking is the art of talking in the public. And when someone stands in front of a crowd, he or she is speaking in the public. And when he engages the crowd, it can be also called public speaking. Did you get what I did now? That's monotone. The person is not changing the tone. He's not changing the melody. He's speaking in one straight line. It's just one straight line. That's how the person is speaking. Right? And if you're going to be a public speaker, you need to learn that people don't have that much of an attention span to allow you use monotone. They would zone out. Imagine from the beginning of this call, all I've been doing is I just stood here and I just kept saying what I was saying in one tone. Just imagine. It would be so boring for everybody. So the first thing you need to know is that you need to work on your tone, right? You need to have ups and downs of your tone. There are times when you raise it up, there are times when you bring it down. So for example now, when you're starting a sentence, it is normal that you bring it up. You bring your tone up. However, if you want to make a very strong point, you can bring it down. I can say something like this. Diction is very, very important, right? Apologies. So this is an example. Diction is very, very important. If you don't master diction, you're going to have a lot of problems. The essence of diction, you can see that I started on the flow, and then when I got to the essence, I broke it down. I said the essence. What I'm doing there is just tone. I'm just playing with my tone. I'm just going up, going down, going up, going down. I'm just trying to have fun with my tone. If you don't have that switch, let me say, you're going to discover that your audience is going to be zoning out pretty fast. It doesn't matter the wealth of knowledge you have up there. It doesn't matter. If you don't know how to convey with a very, very sweet tone, you're going to have a problem. The second thing is pace. Some people talk too fast. Some people talk too slow. And you need to be in the middle. Right? It's just like tone. You can't be too high with your tone. You also can't be too low with your tone. You have to ensure that you're balancing it. So the same thing with pace. Pace is just basically how fast you speak. For me, I'm speaking quite fast on this call because we have a number of things to cover. And I want us to have an exercise before we end, and I don't want to waste everybody's time. I want by 8:30 we should leave here. So generally, pace is how fast you're speaking. Okay, you start a sentence and then you just rush through it from beginning to end. You're going to have a serious problem with your audience. The reason is because if you're too fast, you don't give people time to process. The reason why we don't just speed all the time is because we need to give people time to process. That's one. Two is that we need to give people time to realize that certain parts of our conversation has more weight than the other. So I can start speaking really, really fast, and then when I want to get to a place of importance, what I do is I slow down. Now, the person listening to me automatically would start processing what I'm saying. I slow down, I go quiet. The person would have more time to process. But if I finish one sentence, I rush to the other, I rush to the other, I rush to the other. Even if every sentence carries an amazing amount of knowledge, the person listening would have the time to process such knowledge. And so when you're speaking in front of a crowd, you already have your major points. You have the points you want to highlight. For example, when I said diction, I took like a second or 2 seconds. I will allow you to think. Okay, diction. That's how it works. Pace. You can't be too fast. You can't be too slow. Another thing under diction is how well you pronounce your words. How well you pronounce your words. How well you pronounce your words. This part is very interesting because if you listen to a speaker that has a very, very bad command of pronunciation, you probably will be laughing at the person and not even take the key points from what the person wants to say. You probably will be laughing at the person and you forget to take the key points. Because people like when words are pronounced properly. People like when words are pronounced properly. Have you ever, for persons that have spoken to foreigners, for example, probably if you're into freelancing or you have had the opportunity to travel out before, you would discover that it is interesting to listen to them. Some people, that is why they are more attracted to foreign films. They love the way they speak, the way they pronounce their words. That's why Nigerians want to form, as they will say, want to form and pretend or act like them. The reason is because there's a sweetness to how they pronounce their words. So if you're going to be a public speaker, one of the things you would continually practice is how well you pronounce words. How well you pronounce words. Most especially words that have a heavy significance in your speech. If I'm to deliver a speech and I see certain words that have a very, very, a very, very strong hold in my speech, what I do is my video still on? Can someone confirm for me? Okay, still on. Okay, thank you. So what I do is I take those keywords and I learn how to pronounce them very well. It allows you sound more articulate. It allows you sound more professional. It allows you sound like you know what you're doing. Right? That's exactly what it does. So you need to learn how to pronounce your words. You need to learn how to use your volume very well. And you need to learn how to master your pace. Once you learn all of this, you discover that when you speak, it's melodious. People like to listen. It's melodious, right? It's very melodious. So you need to learn all of these things and put them under diction. So we said the first thing is knowledge. You need to have knowledge. Knowledge is not activity-based, but it's intention-based. It's not activity-based, but intention-based. The second thing is that we need to master our diction. How well do we pronounce our words? How well do we speak in terms of volume? Do we shout? Do we reduce our volume? Do we speak too loud? Yeah. So all of these things, they matter. And the basic point is things can go up when the importance is not so high. And they can come down when you're trying to allow the person see the emphasis on it. You take pauses. You pause. It allows you to give emphasis to what you're saying. So you give an emphasis to it. Beautiful. So the third thing under capacity is presentation. The third thing under capacity is presentation. I do a number of lectures like this, and normally I use my whiteboard, but today I just feel like talking. And whenever I'm done speaking, people tell me that, oh, they've not had someone stand up to talk for a virtual meeting before. And I'm like, that's exactly part of the things I want to incorporate in my own speaking, that I want to use to be different from 1,000 other persons. Your presentation is how well you present yourself and you present your points. Two things. How well you present yourself and how well you present your points. Your point has to have a sequence. It has to have a beginning, a middle, and an ending. It's compulsory. You can't negotiate it. It has to have a beginning, it has to have a middle, and it has to have an ending. So whenever you're preparing a speech, you're to deliver a speech on, let's say, why women are better than men. You need to have a sequence of thoughts. Okay, how well can I arrange this thing? What can be my first point? What's my first point? You put it there. I don't know if you guys have ever been under someone's speech, or, if you've listened to a public speaker and he quoted amazing people, he said some amazing things, but you could not really get the substance of the message itself. When you were done listening, you couldn't get the substance of the message. Like, you couldn't say, okay, this was exactly what he was talking about. You could take one or 2 points from here, from there, but you couldn't say, this was what you couldn't summarize the speech into one thing. What is happening there is that the person probably had good knowledge, the person probably had good diction, but the person failed to realize that if you're going to engage the minds of people, you need to have a sequence. As public speakers, we deal a lot with the psychology of people. You must learn how to engage the minds of people. You're sort of like a mentalist in a way, in sort of a way. You're a mentalist because you need to learn how to engage people. And so you need to have a wonderful presentation. If you're going to present, normally I would have brought my slides out, but the reason why I'm not bringing my slides out is because I'm standing and I'm speaking. So after this class, I would send my slides and it will be sent to everybody. Right? But generally, how well you present your slides. If you're going to speak on stage with the opportunity of, using the slides, for example, probably you're speaking at TEDx or something, and you're to use slides, how beautiful are your slides? It's part of your presentation. How well are your points arranged? It's part of your presentation. So that's the third thing in public speaking. So firstly, we said knowledge. Secondly, we said your diction. That means you must learn how to use your voice, your vocal cords. One of my coaches used to say something. He used to say your voice is an instrument and you must learn how to play it. What that means is that whenever you're speaking, it's sort of like you're playing an instrument and you need to learn how to use it, which is very amazing, right? It's an amazing quote that by him, and I really love it, and I always tell people that your voice is an instrument, you need to learn how to play it. The first thing is body work. Body work. What body work means is just what I'm doing right now. If you notice, I've been doing my hand like this, doing my hand like this, doing like this, doing like this. I've been using my body anyhow. What I'm doing is I am keeping you engaged visually. If I stood like this since, and I was just talking, it's not as engaging. It can be probably because we're doing this virtually. But one thing is, if I was in front of you in person and I just stood on one spot from the beginning of the lecture to the end of the lecture, I am extremely certain that you will find it boring. You may not be able to pick what exactly is wrong with the speech, but you just be like, what's wrong? So you need to learn how to use your body. You need to learn how to use your body, right? And let me give you guys a wonderful example. If you notice, I have been doing a lot of this, hands up, this, doing this, showing this. What I'm doing is I am showing you my palms. I'm showing you my palms. And the reason why I'm showing you my palms is because when you show your palms in public speaking or while speaking to people, it shows a sort of a welcoming influence to them. You guys can try this. I mentioned earlier, public speaking has a lot to do with psychology. It has a lot to do with psychology. So if you do this, you let people see your hands, you speak to them like this, you talk to them like you do things that show your palm. Right? It shows a welcoming spirit. Also, another thing is you must learn to use your hands between here and here. I don't know if everybody can see where I'm showing. I don't know if I'm tall enough for the camera. I don't know if everybody can see where I'm showing. So you must learn to use your hands between here and here. Hope you guys can see. It doesn't pass it. It would be very abnormal if I was talking and all I'd be doing is this. So there are 2 points in public speaking. You people can see it's not normal. There are 2 points in public speaking. Number 1 is diction. No. But if I come here and I say there are 2 points in public speaking. Number 1 is diction. Number 2. Can you guys see? There's a full lecture on this tomorrow. So everything I talk about today will be discussed further in different classes. I'm just here to sort of introduce each class to you. So your speaking must be here. It must not be up. It must also not be. Imagine if my hand was down. Apart from the fact that I'm a guy and that's very inappropriate, right? Even if it's for a lady, it's also inappropriate. It's awkward. It makes things awkward. So you have to let your hands be here. A lot of people speak and they don't find the need to use their hands. Even if I'm speaking to one single person, I always use my hands. It's so bad to the extent that, or I'd rather say it's so good to the extent that if I'm on a call with you and I'm talking, I still use my hands, even though you're not seeing me. I have made it an habit. And what that does is that it shows confidence. It shows confidence. Imagine you're on stage, you're using your hands, you're walking from right to left, from left to right, you move forward, you come back, it shows confidence. People see you like, oh, you're owning the stage, you command the stage. It's an amazing phenomenon. You need to learn it. Because if your body can speak confidence, the rest falls in place. I'm telling you. And your body is easiest to use for confidence. Just simply gesticulate. Gesticulate when you can. Oh, I need to discuss 2 things with you. Which one is I need to discuss 2 things with you? And your hands is just there. Right? It doesn't show confidence. It doesn't show confidence. And let me tell you something, let me tell you a secret. 70% of what we are doing as public speakers is just confidence. It's just confidence. I'm telling you. It's just confidence. If you learn to be confident, Same thing with communication. If you learn to be confident, you can get away with anything and you can get whatever you want. You can get whatever you want. Right? Confidence. So you need to learn body work. So the first thing is body work. How well do you use your body? You know, how well can you be body? I don't know if everybody here is Yoruba, but how well can you use your body? So the fifth thing is storytelling. The fifth thing is storytelling. Before I say what storytelling is, I would like to ask someone a question. I don't know if I can have a volunteer. Can I have a volunteer? We are not together anymore. Okay, we have. I'm amazed that we have. I don't know how many people on the call right now, but I'm sure we have more than 10 people on this call. So we have at least 10 public speakers here, and I'm begging for a volunteer. It's the first sign. It's the first sign that you've not made up your mind to actually decide that, okay, I am going to learn to be confident. I am going to learn to be a public speaker. It's the first sign. I'm so sorry to say it. It was the first sign. For people who have decided in their mind that, okay, I am going to take public speaking seriously, one of the things that they do, most especially at the learning stage, is that you learn to take every opportunity. You know what can stand you out? You know what will stand you out? You get to a meeting, and I'm just saying this by the way, it's something that if you learn now, it works in different spheres of life, even beyond speaking on stage. If you get somewhere and you're able to allow them hear you speak, you have an advantage over 80% of every other single person that is there. They could hear you speak and then refer you. The first time I got to speak in front of my largest audience, which was about 1,500 people, right? The first time I got that opportunity was because I spoke up at a particular meeting. The first time I got to be a co-author for a book was because I spoke up at a particular meeting. It was that simple. I didn't do anything that was so extraordinary. I wasn't even so brilliant. Even till now, I'm still not so brilliant. But all you have to do is to speak. It gives you an advantage. That's why you're public speakers. If you claim to be public speakers, I don't think I should be begging. I should be begging people to calm down, not that I should be begging people to participate. So can we have a volunteer? One volunteer. I thought, yes. For me, yes. Okay, so I wanted to ask the question. Can you tell me what exactly storytelling is? Can you tell me what storytelling is? Amazing. Amazing. Can I have another volunteer? Another volunteer, please. Anybody? Another volunteer? Okay, so we have Miracle. So, Miracle, can you tell me why? Okay, we even have a lot of people now. Wow, I'm so proud of you guys. I'm so proud of you guys. You people used to hear word. People say, I'm proud of you. I'm proud for you, bro. So let me pick Miracle. Miracle, can you tell me why exactly storytelling is important to a public speaker? Quickly. Did Miracle hear me? Okay. So why? Okay. Amazing. There are about 5 ways to start a speech. About 5 ways. And I want you guys to take this very, very seriously. About 5 ways to start speech. The first way is by asking a question. If you notice earlier in my discussion when I just came on, I asked the question. That's the first way. The second way is by stating a fact. So you can state a fact. The first one is you can ask a question. I can come and say, how many people here know what public speaking is all about? And then we'll have volunteers, and then I start to engage you, right? The second way is by saying a fact. I can come out here and say, do you know that 90% of people battle with low self-esteem, and that's why they're not public speakers? That's also an amazing way. The third way is I can have a prop. That means I can have something. I can take this bottle of water. And perhaps, pour it on my head. And then from there I make some random point about how, the shame of what I've done to myself can't be as much as the shame of what people will do to me. You can use a prop. That's an item. Right? I think that's the fourth way. I can't remember again. So the first way we said, you state, if you ask a question. Second way is a fact. Third way is a prop, right? And then the fourth way, which is the last one I'd like to talk about, is storytelling. Storytelling is an amazing thing in public speaking is storytelling. The most amazing public speakers are public speakers who tell stories. The most amazing public speakers are public speakers who tell stories. I have a story for every single point I've made here today. The only reason I'm not saying it, of course, is because of time. I have like a few minutes left. I'm not going to branding. So you need to learn how to tell stories. So we've discussed the ways of starting a speech, and we've said storytelling is the most efficient, it's the best way to start a speech. Storytelling comprises of a beginning, which is the hook. It consists of the body, the ending, and then a call to action, the point you want to make. Earlier, I asked a question. I said, what does a public speaker do? And then people gave their answer. Well, I'm going to give you my own answer. A public speaker influences people. Influences them into action or into thoughts. And one of the best ways you can do that for people is by telling a story. A story that they can relate to. A story they can find themselves inside. Sometimes the story can be funny. Sometimes the story can be sad. For example, if I'm taking classes on low self-esteem, I have a particular personal story I used to tell people. And the story is very phenomenal. It's a story about how I battled with low self-esteem for a very long time. I was an absolute dullard when I was in school. I used to take class position. People can't even relate. I used to take class position in class. They will call everybody's name, and then they will call my name, Suulola Akinkunmi. Like, they will call me last. After everybody has come out to collect prize and go back to their seats, they will call me last. They will shame me. As if that was not enough. I was bedwetting till like my SS2 or my SS3, I think. So in school, I'm facing shame. At home, I'm facing shame. Now, mind you, I wasn't living with my parents. I was living with my uncle, my aunt, my grandma, my grandpa. We were about 7 or 8 in that house. Now, the craziest part of that story is this. My uncle and my aunts, they already had their own children who were about 2 or 3 years old, and those ones had stopped bedwetting. I, on the other hand, I was about maybe 15 years old, and I was still bedwetting. So you can see how crazy. You can just imagine what was going on in that house. The one that's supposed to be correcting the younger ones that they should not bedwet, is the one that is bedwetting. So they will make fun of me, they will do all of that. So I battled with low self-esteem for a very long time because I felt like there was a lot of things wrong with me. Now, when I share a story like that, it's quite sad. It's funny to some people, but some people it's also sad. Right? Some parts are funny, some parts are sad. But people get to relate. People that have issues with low self-esteem, they get to relate. It may not be the exact same thing. It may be maybe when they were younger, people used to make fun of how they looked. They used to make fun of their height, or maybe them being short, maybe them being slim, maybe them being fat. People relate with it, and then it's easy for me to communicate the essence of my message to them just because of that simple story. So as a public speaker, it's important that you have in your arsenal, in your pocket, the attribute of storytelling. And here's one of the ways you can master it. Ensure that you use storytelling in a lot of things, in almost everything. The way you can master public speaking is just by practice. You can have all of this knowledge in your head. You can read 1,000 books, but if you don't practice it, it's not going to work out for you. So all these hand gesticulations, you have to practice. Pronunciations, you have to practice. Volume, you have to practice. Knowledge, you have to practice. Storytelling, you have to practice. There's an entire class on storytelling, I think, next week or probably. But you have to practice. And the last thing under capacity is communication. It's communication. Wow, there are a lot of things I can say under communication. But because of time, I'm just going to limit it to 3 things. You need to learn to, firstly, listen. You need to learn to listen. Make una the hear word. Listen. Like, the first mistake people make is that they don't listen. That's the first mistake people make. They don't listen. They think they are listening, but they're not listening. Do you know how crazy it is that people respond to you in 0.2 seconds? Like if you speak to someone, and you guys can test this out, for majority of people that you speak to, when you speak to them, the second you are done speaking, that's the same second they would also start their response to you. So the question now is, what time did they have to process what you said and process their own response? The thing is, your brain is fast enough to process what you said and process a response, not a good response. So to process something that you will say back to the person, but it won't process an efficient response from you. So if you want to actually learn communication, your first objective is, okay, someone is speaking to me. I'm going to listen and I'm going to understand what the person is saying. I'm going to listen to understand. I'm not going to listen to respond. I'm going to listen to understand. And when the person is done speaking, I'm going to give myself 2 to 3 seconds before I respond. 2 to 3 seconds. You must do this. If you want to master it, you must do this. 2 to 3 seconds before I respond. So the first thing is you need to listen. We all know definition. I'm not here to tell you the definition of communication. I'm here to tell you what to do to make your communication better. Because once you learn how to communicate properly, people would like to listen to you. People would like to speak to you. So the first thing is you listen. If there's anybody here and you're a good listener, you will notice that people talk to you more. And not just that they talk to you, they tell you things that they would not tell just anybody. If peradventure there's anybody here and you're actually a listener, a good listener, you will notice that attribute throughout your life. In fact, some people may tell you that you should go into counseling. What's happening is that you're just listening. And because most people don't get the opportunity to be listened to, when it happens, they tend to cleave to that person. The second thing is to understand. I already mentioned it in listen. You listen to understand. You understand the person. Okay, where's this person coming from? What point is this person trying to make? What point is this person? What exactly is Suulola trying to make with this thing he's saying? Okay, he's trying to tell me that I should learn to listen properly. He's doing it because he's passionate about public speaking. Okay, you understand where I'm coming from, where the other person is coming from. It allows you process better. When your objective is, okay, I'm going to listen to this person and I'm going to understand what the person is saying, it allows you to process better. And then the last thing is to validate. Most people don't validate. When someone speaks to me, it doesn't matter if I agree or I don't agree, or I like you, I don't like you, I hate you, I like you, I love you, I don't like you, whatever. It doesn't really matter to me. The first thing I will do when you speak to me is that I will say, oh, I understand. Beautiful, wonderful. Yeah. You make such an amazing point. I love that. Yeah, that's true. I can see where you're coming from. You know what that does? It lets their guard down automatically. You know, I mentioned what we do here is psychology. Public speakers, you need to understand psychology. People let their guards down. So once they have someone that listens to them, and then your first response is not to attack what they are saying or to give your own perspective or to give your own opinion. The first thing you do is, oh, I understand what you mean. The person is like, yes, I know you won't understand. You know, the person feels at home, he feels comfortable with you. Even if you don't understand, the person feels comfortable with you, right? And even if you don't understand and you want the person to explain for them, be like, oh wow, that's interesting, but can you explain further? I would like to know more. It allows you to build rapport, right? You get to get closer with the person. You get to have a deeper connection with the person. Oh, I love what you just said now, but can you just expatiate on this area? The person automatically feel like, oh wow, what I'm saying is interesting. So Miracle wants to listen to me. Also Toluwanimi wants to listen to me. Also Adeola wants to listen to me. What I'm saying is, that's what the brain would interpret it as. Explain more, explain further. Oh, I understand you. Can you explain further? Oh, can you elaborate on this part? You know. So you listen, you understand, and then you validate. And then you what? You validate. There are a lot of things under communication. There's something called the three conversations in communication. The first one is practical conversations. The second one is emotional conversation. And the third one is social conversations. For example, I didn't plan to discuss about this, but I think I'll just touch on it a bit. Do you know whenever you speak to someone, or whenever someone speaks to you, two things are happening. Two separate things are happening. The first thing is that you're having a discussion. And the discussion is simply the topic that you're discussing at that very moment. So now what we're discussing now is communication. That's very clear, right? It's simple, easy to understand. The second thing that is happening is that there is a conversation going on. The conversation can now either be practical, can be emotional, or can be social. Let me give you an example. Do you know there are some times that something bad happens to you or something you don't like happens to you, and then you just want to talk to somebody? It's not that you don't know the solution to that problem. You realize that, okay, if I do A, B, C, the problem will go away, but you just want to talk to somebody. What is happening is that you want to have an emotional conversation. If peradventure that person on the other end does not understand that you want to have an emotional conversation, and the person starts to have a practical conversation, starts to tell you, oh, why don't you do it this way? Do it this way. Why did you do this? Why did you do that? You automatically feel like the person is not understanding you. You're talking about the same topic, but for some weird reason, you people are not understanding each other. It's like you people are far apart. What is happening is that you are having an emotional conversation. The other person is having what? A practical conversation. The person wants to give the solution. You, on the other hand, you don't need the solution. You just need the emotional comfort. So guys, can you guys see how sometimes there can be people discussing the same topic, but they are far apart. Their understanding is far apart. You came to that conversation and you will leave there very dissatisfied because the person didn't understand, where you were coming from or what you were trying to achieve with that particular conversation. And the last one is social conversations, which are just general conversations that we have about things or about people. And that's communication. So there are a lot of things under communication, and during the course of the fellowship, you'll be delving into it. As you all know, I'm just here to take you the introductory aspects into all the things that you'll be learning during the course of the fellowship by our amazing and capable facilitators. So now we've discussed everything under capacity. The second thing is branding. There are two things under branding, just two. Unlike capacity that has about 5 or 6 things. Two things under branding. Number one is perception. Number two is networking. Number one is perception. Number two is networking. Can I ask, I know time has gone, but can I have one person tell me what networking is? Can I have a volunteer? Tell me what do you understand by networking? When someone says, okay, we want to network with social person, what exactly do you understand by networking? Can I have a volunteer? I hope I'm still audible. Okay, am I audible? Okay. So we have Toluwanimi. Yeah, Toluwanimi, please. Please shoot on. Good evening. Sorry, I didn't get you, please. So sorry. You have to start again, please.